This video series covers the legacy and lineage of the classic archetypal story of Richard Connell's The Most Dangerous Game as it has evolved in cinema. If you're following along at home, you should know that we are using Brian Sen's guide to the Most Dangerous Game movies, titled The Most Dangerous Cinema, as a template or structure to go off of. Each chapter, I will also include a bonus section at the end to cover a subgenre that is spawned from the story, or like offspring or distant relatives. This chapter's bonus section is direct-to-video versions, so that's at the end of this video. Stick around for that. I should also tell you that I'm joined by my friend Hanky, who thinks he's dying.
And it's incurable.
No, it is not incurable. You're not sick.
I'm not sick except for this terminal disease.
You're not sick. You swallowed a bug.
You are a true peckerhead.
What the hell is that for?
What did I say?
You call me a peckerhead. How is that fair?
Nothing is fair. Wake up and smell the river.
Oh, that's real nice. You crash my show, you eat a bug, you go on a bad trip, insult me, and now what do you want? You just gonna hang around?
Hang around. Be lazy. Listen to the ball game and, drink a couple hundred beers.
All right, fine. Hang up. Just let me get through this. So far, we've discussed the 1932 version and seen how the remakes and newer adaptations have leaned into the more exploitation side of genre over the decades.
And I need this. And you'll see, at the end of the week, I'll be a brand new human being.
Yeah, okay, good to know. Can you just relax and be quiet for a bit, please?
I'm relaxed.
This chapter is continuing where we left off, and we'll look at the 80s movies in which man hunts man for sport. The 80s keep the exploitation angle going, but we start to see it begin to morph into the action genre that dominates the adaptations of the 90s. Maybe the perfect last gasp of old-school sleazeploitation in our long history of the story is encapsulated in Escape 2000, aka Turkey Shoot. This is a world or country, a future under authoritarian rule where fascist police pull people off the streets for looking at them the wrong way and have them thrown into work camps. This is something like a Women in Cages film, but dudes are also in this predicament. The violence is savage and brutal, but it doesn't become a Most Dangerous story until almost halfway through the film, where the elites running the prison offer 4 inmates the chance to win their freedom by surviving a hunt to kill them. This movie isn't a deep dive into the themes of the original story and actually invites too many characters, both hunter and prey, to have the time to really flesh them out to any great degree. So the movie mostly plays on shock values and visceral action, which it accomplishes handily. The movie is more gunshots and explosions by the end than it is any kind of cat and mouse game, but this criticism is really only applicable when comparing it to the Most Dangerous Game template. As its own ugly little prison exploitation flick, it's alright. Even criticism leveled at the movie is dulled somewhat with context on how the film was made. I'm going to reference page 84 of the book. 2 weeks before shooting began, Brian Trenchard Smith lost nearly a quarter of his $3.2 million budget. With the schedule cut from 44 to 30 days, we had a huge prison camp built for 500 extras, recalled the director. We could afford 70 on one day and 20 on the other days. Due to this last-minute cost-cutting, the production lost a huge 1984 scene to sort of set up the repressive society that requires these re-education and behavior modification camps, according to Trenchard Smith. The first 15 pages of the script were torn out because they were too expensive. A helicopter chase torn out, 4 pages of it because it was too expensive. It was a mess. Linda Stoner felt that because of the cuts, it went from having some kind of social message to being an absolutely putrid, puerile bunch of crap. Australian director Brian Trenchard Smith is something of a prolific B-movie genius with credits under his belt like Leprechaun 3 and 4, Night of the Demons 2, BMX Bandits, The Man from Hong Kong, and Dead End Drive-In. This movie was part of a wave of Australian films that form what people call Ozploitation films. There's a great documentary called Not Quite Hollywood, which covers the subgenre of Ozploitation films, if you'd like to learn more about it. It's really entertaining, and the movies of Trenchard Smith are covered in that, including Turkey Shoot. On the lower budget side, but actually pretty damn entertaining, in 1986 we get Avenging Force. I don't know why I had such low expectations going into it. Right. Well, this is the first of these Most Dangerous movies to employ an action star as the lead, the beginning of that action genre shift. Others might have had action, but this version of the Most Dangerous Game is about muscular, shirtless dudes doing big stunt sequences in industrial factories or processing plants. It's over the top with its kills, and it has endless fist fights. The bad guy early on has an evil guy rant that in 1986 was the height of evil and is now just a slow Tuesday for Tucker Carlson.
You know what's coming, don't you? Rioting in the streets of our cities.
Yes, sir. Started already.
That's right. Civil disorder everywhere. Dope-crazed savages. Gangs of arrogant, sniveling politicians trying to enforce gun control. Commie guerrillas in Central America pointing their guns north.
No control whatsoever. Nobody has any idea where these people are coming from. And we know they come from prisons. We know they come from mental institutions, insane asylums. We know they're terrorists.
It is our constitutional right to bear arms. It is our sacred duty to do so as efficiently as we know how. To become soldiers in the cause of freedom. I know the goddamn liberals scream fascist, but the simple truth is, Hitler was right. Man was a visionary. When these yellow-belly liberals call us paranoid and try to hand over our country to the goddamn commies without a fight, we can and we will. With an iron fist, say no! 40 years after his death, half the world is communist and we're defending our borders.
Sir.
So let Hitler take care of the goddamn commie sons of vision, we had a chance.
But this is also some of the best Michael Dudikoff stuff. We get these very distinct and freaky hunters and some fantastic locations that they're shooting at. And I don't know if it's because of the politics or legal issues, but after a VHS release, this movie didn't get a DVD release until 2014. And I know when people think Dudikoff, the first title that springs to mind is American Ninja, but am I wrong in thinking this is a way better movie? Maybe it was harder to achieve cult status when it wasn't available commercially for 20 years, or maybe ninjas just had that much pull in the 80s. But it's here now with time to make up for. This is worth a watch if you like American Ninja or Delta Force. It doesn't overlap with the Most Dangerous Game plot all that much, but it's in the book. It's got humans hunting humans for sport, and it's fun to see fascists get a little rap on the old Jack Johnson. Then we get Warcat in 1987, aka Angel of Vengeance. This is another entry where I question why it's in the book with such prominence. There are other movies found in the bonus sections that are closer to the Most Dangerous Game story and are likely more deserving of being on the list than Warcat. And in fact, the book even states that the director wasn't even aware of the Richard Connell story at all. Not only that, but I think most people will find this more in line with rape revenge flicks like Last House on the Left or I Spit on Your Grave. The plot follows a newcomer in town being accosted by a trio of Vietnam vets turned deranged survivalists and grade-A psychos who do their worst to her. But before killing her, she proposes a challenge to the crazies that she's given a chance to escape while they hunt her down, and as one would expect, she gives these goons more than they can handle. It is a little dull and tiresome after listening to these chuddy dudes screaming at each other for most of the runtime, egging each other on with their loony delusions and torturing and murdering people. This also has had a bit of a First Blood vibe to it, but Warcat is much more crude in its production and results. Still, the second half with our female Rambo is likely to be a straight-up intentional ripoff of that first movie because so many First Blood knockoffs were coming out in the mid-80s. Lucky for us, Warcat was not the only Most Dangerous movie that was released in 1987. With a title like Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity, you know it's still going to be an exploitation B-movie, but this one is a perfect counterpoint to Warcat, showing us how much fun a B-movie can be. I love a good genre swap, and this one works beautifully. It's a pretty straight-up adaptation from contemporary thriller to sci-fi adventure, lifting dialogue almost word for word.
Beast in the jungle
I was thinking of the inconsistency of
Man
civilization.
killing just for sport.
The beast of the jungle killing just for his existence is called savage.
What makes you think it isn't just as much sport for the animal as it is for the man?
It's a bit contradictory,
Take that fellow right there, for instance.
What makes you think it isn't just as much sport for the
Never
animal
a time
as it is for the
he
man?
couldn't have gotten away.
I'll take that fellow right there.
Didn't want to.
There never was a time when he couldn't
got
have gotten
interested
away.
in hunting me.
He didn't want to. He got interested in hunting me.
For stalking him
He
any
hated
more
me
than
for
I
stalking
hated him for trying
any
to
more than
charge
I hated
me.
him for trying to charge me.
Fact.
As a matter of fact, we admired each other.
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
But would you change
Would
places
you
with the
change
tiger?
places with him?
Well, not now.
Not now.
Don't evade the issue.
Yeah, I asked
There'd
you
be
a
as much
question.
sport in the game if you
Did?
were the prey
I forgot.
instead of the
No,
hunter.
you didn't. I asked
That
you
is
if
something
there'd
I
be
will
as
never
much
have
sport
to
in the
decide.
game if you were the tiger
This
instead of the
universe
hunter.
is divided into two types of people.
Well, that's something I'll never have to decide.
Hunter.
Listen here, you fellas. This world's divided into two kinds of people, the hunter and the hunted.
As you know the
Barbarians
saying
know
of
that
the
it is
Ogandi
only
chieftains.
after the chase
Hunt
that
first
man
the enemy,
indulges.
then the
You know
woman.
the saying of the
It's
altar
the savage's
chieftains?
idea everywhere.
Hunt
It
first
is the
enemy,
natural instinct.
then the woman.
What is woman? Even such a woman
That's
as
the
this.
savage's idea
Until the
everywhere.
blood is quickened
Natural
by the
instinct.
kill.
Blood rushes from
Oh,
the
I
kill.
don't know.
One passion fills and another kill. Then love.
You American.
You know that then.
One
you know
passion builds
ecstasy.
upon another. Kill. Then love. When you have known that, you will have known ecstasy.
Of course, everything simply transposes genres on a one-to-one level. So, for example, they're not on a marine ship, they're on a spaceship. They're not marooned on an island, it's a planet. Instead of a manservant, this hunter has a robot, and Zaroff becomes Zed, which is probably like the most futuristic 80s name. And the movie not only genre swaps, but it also does a gender swap that our heroic lead is a lady instead of a typical male Rainsford. In fact, the casting delivers 3 scantily clad ladies with Elizabeth Catan, Cindy Beale, and Brink Stevens. This is a Full Moon production, and it's listed on Wikipedia as a sexploitation film, so as you imagine, it quickly devolves into those naked, exploitative elements, though it's pretty tame compared to today's standards, so that makes it especially clownish that part of its history was being used as an example for the Republican senator for North Carolina trying to require cable companies to get pre-written requests from customers before allowing that specific content onto their channel. This was back in the 90s, but needless to say that little bit of Nanny State was shot down pretty quickly. What keeps this movie alive and entertaining and moving is how closely it stuck to our classic Most Dangerous plot as a blueprint and then exaggerated it to comic book pulp levels of charisma and or sleazy exploitation. That's how you can get ridiculous scenes like this, and it works, and it's charming.
Are you doing here?
Watching her.
The master ordered you to check the upstairs room.
Everything at the house is in order.
Did you see for yourself?
Well, no.
I think you should be guarding the house.
You think? You never thought for your entire existence.
This isn't a good movie, but it's a great bad movie. There's continuity errors, cardboard sets, and despite wardrobe changes, the 2 leading ladies never seem to escape their initial skimpy slave bikinis. But the title, the poster, they're not trying to trick you. This is exactly what you'd expect going into it, but maybe even a little less. Hanky, you still around?
That's my cue.
Hey, I just thought before we got to our bonus section, I was just wondering, since you think you're dying, right, you might as well tell me. How'd you get invited to someone's private island to hunt people? Like, these were your friends.
In the beginning, I was full of, piss and vinegar. Nothing got me down. I wanted to know.
And what did they tell you?
Everything! But then I had some experiences.
Yeah, I bet. So they hunt homeless people or whatever, you shoot them, skin them, and then what?
They try other people on and see how they fit. But everybody's an adjustment. Nobody's perfect.
Oh my god. Human skin suits. That's so heavy and dark. Like, how do they tell you to cope with it, having that image in your head?
Work will save you. Work is the only thing that will see you through this.
Yeah, I don't think that's healthy, dude.
I'm starting to notice that.
Okay, bonus section time. In the book, Mr. Sen sets aside a chapter for any release that was direct-to-video, made for TV, or a foreign release that didn't get a North American theatrical release. That amounts to 24 titles in the book. We'll touch on just 6 here briefly. And one of my minor gripes with the book, maybe not a gripe, more of a difference of opinion on how I would have laid out the book, is that I would have included foreign theatrical releases as legit and given them full chapters, but I can understand why Mr. Sen didn't do that. The list of films might have been too long, and making alternate sections like a direct-to-video or an Almost Dangerous Game helps to focus on fewer films. Well, my first direct-to-video movie is one of those that got a theatrical release abroad. It's a Jess Franco movie from 1974 called The Perverse Countess that utilizes the same basic plot, but as most Franco movies do, it dances over the line into smut, and that's not a bad thing. And Franco always has some disturbing flavor to add to his films, but it's best to know what you're getting into. Franco took another stab at the plot again in 1997 with his Tender Flesh movie, which is also listed in the book. But it's not any sort of improvement over Perverse Countess, so, take that for what it's worth. There's also a great Mondo Macabro Blu-ray release for The Perverse Countess if you're looking for a hard copy. 1988's The Game. Now, this is fun to mention because it was missed in the book and I only discovered it researching for this video. It's a low-budget direct-to-video effort, but it's done pretty well. It's also a twist on the formula. This time our story is of Joseph Campanella, who infiltrates the rich group of human hunters who make up a nice global and diverse group of elites. There's an Arab sheik, a Japanese businessman, a mafia boss, a Nazi in full regalia as they all crowd around a 3D model map of the terrain that they monitor the hunt with. The first half of the movie sets up our amusing Legion of Doom as they plot and chew up the cardboard sets around them, being generally cheesy and ridiculously over the top. Once the movie gets going, it's a decent little action flick. One rather standout issue to me is this character named Chin in the movie. Chin, I am pretty sure, is a Chinese name, and yet he is offered all the sake in China, even though sake's a Japanese drink, and he's shown using a Japanese samurai sword, and then at the end, when everybody gets their little American Graffiti-style end title card, all of his credits are Asian Intelligence Officer. Like what is that? Like, Asia is not a country. So it's pretty cringe. The tone of the movie is best summed up when the leading lady says to Kane,
Kane, they're not our enemies.
Look, I got a job to do. If they get in my way, then they're expendable.
And then she says,
And what about me? Am I expendable too?
and I'm with that guy. If this had been listed in the book, it would have also pointed out that this cadre of evil bastards watching the killing aren't actually doing the hunting themselves. They're not getting their hands dirty, so the nature of Zaroff's entire code of honor or whatever isn't really there. But to be honest, in the original story, Zaroff cheats anyway, and it's hardly a fair fight no matter how he sets it up with his hounds and his rules and not giving his prey any weapons, so it was a bum deal. Oh, and bonus points for the terrible tagline on the box, killing is hell, and that's how he likes it. And then after The Game in 1992, we get Death Ring. Death Ring in 1992 is almost like a remake of The Game. I mean, I guess these are all variations on the same story, of course, but it's again a group of elites and criminals that kidnap people to hunt for their amusement, but it's not just the basics of the plot. It's the campiness, the cheesiness, and this movie dives into the cheese, or like Cheese Whiz, some liquid cheese. I know. Liquid cheese would have to be a scalding hot temperature to be liquid, and it's not a good comparison, but I'm going to prove that Death Ring indeed does intentionally dive into the scalding hot cheese. Incontrovertible evidence. Ready? Starring Norris, Swayze, and McQueen. That would be Chuck Norris's brother, Mike Norris, Steve McQueen's son, Chad McQueen, and Patrick Swayze's brother, Don Swayze. I mean, do I have to say anything else? Yes, actually, I do. It also features Billy Drago as our Zaroff, Danton Vox. Drago's the only one with the acting chops in this movie.
Where's Lauren?
Oh, right about now, I would say getting a massage.
I swear to God, if you hurt her in the slightest...
I assure you, my intentions toward the lady are strictly honorable. You evade the hunters, you and the lady are free as a bird.
Yeah, and what if I don't?
This is another example in the early 90s of how these movies were leaning back into the action genre. It's got your cliched Rambo-esque trap-setting survival elements. Sure, in The Most Dangerous Game, Rainsford sets a few booby traps, but did they blend into the foliage like a stealth ninja like old Mike Norris here? Or when this tracker picks up some soft gravel and smells it. I mean, this is the kind of movie we're talking about. Death Ring, where Chuck Norris's brother teaches Patrick Swayze's brother how to kill a man.
Do you remember what I showed you?
Yeah. Grab him by the jaw and pull his head back. And,
cut his throat.
I love it. This movie is filled with all this glorious nonsense. This is exactly what a B movie should be. In 2004, we got Bet Your Life. Bet Your Life is a mid-level movie. It would be piddly as a theatrical release, but somewhat exceeds expectations as a direct-to-video release. The only star to really speak of in the movie is Billy Zane, who plays our Count Zaroff type guy.
Why do you want to kill me?
I don't want to kill you. If I wanted to kill you, I'd do it right here, right now. I want to hunt you, Sonny.
And the movie tracks our hero, a degenerate gambler, as he is hunted all over Las Vegas, in car chases and machine gun fights and helicopters and rocket launchers, and no mention or sight of any police as they go on a rampage through multiple cities. It kind of blows its suspension of disbelief early on, but tries to make up for it with bombastic action sequences, which are impressive against a $1 million TV budget. The leads are played by unknowns, specifically winners of a reality show aimed to pick America's next action star. There's a kinetic energy to the movie as it's always moving, but in the end, it's pretty forgettable. Okay, 2004, Season of the Hunted. Man, this is just one of the worst movies I've seen all year. I wasn't prepared for this disaster called Season of the Hunted, and I think I'm just going to give myself a break on this one and just let Brian Sen cover it on page 175 and 176. Take 1 part Deliverance, 1 part Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and 1 part The Most Dangerous Game. Stir and serve straight to video, and what do you get? In the case of Season of the Hunted, something far less satisfying than its raw ingredients might indicate. The first thing to strike the hapless viewer is Season's amateurish look, with its obvious shot-on-video photography giving the homemade game away from the outset. Flat outdoor lighting alternates with dim indoor scenes, while a distracting black shadow intermittently appears at the corners of the frame as if filmmakers use the wrong lens at times. First and last time, director Ron Sperling sets his foot wrong at almost every step, from the wrong pacing and obvious camera techniques, including slow-mo black and white nom flashbacks that look like they were filmed in the producer's backyard, to repetitive transitions, abrupt cuts, and garden shear editing that takes the viewer right out of the story. The hunt itself doesn't begin until after 37 excruciating minutes, during which we're subjected to lengthy scenes of the 5 protagonists' conversation consisting primarily of lame jokes, insults, and waitress harassment, driving, and card playing. It's like a low-rent deer hunter gone bad. Rather than developing character, these annoying sequences simply make us impatient to see these putzes hunted down like dogs, but even that is woefully mishandled. So that about covers that. The last pick for this list is truly no better. 2016 Hunting Season. I know. The last one was Season of the Hunted. This one is Hunting Season. Totally different movie. I know it's maddening. Believe me. Look at these movies. The Hunt, Hunting Season, Blood Hunt, right? The Hunters, Season of the Hunted. So, 2016, Hunting Season with Tom Sizemore and Eric Roberts is pretty awful. Everything from performances to camera shots, special effects is all pretty awful. I guess they're not that different then at all. The FBI find a bunch of bro-banker investment brokers who hunt humans and try and bring them down, but they just end up bringing the audience down. I've read accounts that Sizemore was not in a good place with his sobriety on the film, and that seems evident in the footage. This is an easy miss. It's not even good at being bad. It just murders a small portion of your life that you'll never get back. So how fun is that? We covered all the main adaptations since the 30s, plus direct-to-video examples, movies that come close enough to mention, through the exploitation of the 70s and morphing into the action genre, which is going to be covered in the next chapter, the most dangerous games of the 90s. Still, there's a lot of ground to cover, including bonus sections that will go over most dangerous game shows and aliens hunting humans for sport. So hit the like button, the bell notification button, leave a comment, and let me know if you've seen any of these before, and I'll see you next week.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Oh, yeah? I was kind of thinking maybe you just skip the next video. Like, honestly, I'm just feeling a little weird now. The whole skin suit story has me feeling pretty uncomfortable. Kind of thought that we could just take a beat, you know, step away for a minute.
No, we just gotta pull ourselves together and fucking do it!
Okay, well, like, dude, it's just that the people that we're talking about, they've got, like, money and power.
Oh, if you're so fucking scared, why don't you move out?
'Cause it's my place. This is my show, dude. You're the guest. So, like, great. I guess we'll both see everybody back next week, as long as my biggest problem is stink bugs and not being hunted on George Clooney's private skin suit farm.